Hey, welcome back. Good morning, options traders. Well, I'm sorry for the extended delay here, but I have been super busy on a couple of big projects and finally gotten a little bit of breathing room. So I'm hoping to be back on track with creating some videos for everyone. But this came up in a conversation the other day, and it's a really important topic for options traders. I've talked about this in various forms in different videos. It's almost a common theme, but let's look at it from a little different perspective. And we're going to ask an intriguing question. What's the difference between roulette versus horses? And when I say versus horses, I'm talking about horse racing. Now, on the surface, most people would say, well, they're the same because they're both gambling. We don't know the outcome, and you're just speculating. It's outright gambling. Well, yes, there is some truth to that, but there's a very big difference between these two types of bets. And so let's find out what they are, because once you understand this, you'll see that one of them is much more like the stock market or like the options market. And yet it's probably the number one thing that I find that traders still overlook. So let's go find out, what is the big difference between roulette versus horses? Well, if you've ever been to Vegas and played roulette, you will certainly recognize there are a lot of different bets you can do with roulette. You can bet on a single number. There's 38 spaces on the wheel, and let's say you think number 10 is going to come up. You put your chip on 10, and if it lands on 10, the payoff is 35 to 1. You're going to win 35 times your money. You put 10 bucks on it, you're going to win 350 bucks. Now remember, that might seem like a good deal. Kind of a little side note here, a lot of traders say, oh, this is really a good trade because look at the risk-reward ratio. You can make 35 times your money, but you can only lose $1. Well, remember, that's not the way to look at it. The fair value of this is $37. If it were a fairly valued bet, Vegas should be paying 37 to 1. And even at a fairly valued bet, there's no reason to take that bet. There's no edge. So that's a little side note. Don't get sidetracked into these ratios. But you can win 35 to 1 on a single number. If you bet on two numbers, two adjacent numbers, it's called a split bet. They'll pay you 17 to 1. Three numbers is called a street bet. They'll pay 11 to 1. Four numbers, a corner bet. 8 to 1, you can bet on odd or even, red or black, pays 1 to 1. But there's all kinds of bets that you can use at roulette. But the main thing to see, what separates roulette from the horses, is that if you bet on roulette, the crowd has no influence on those payoffs. So if everybody bets on 10 or nobody bets on 10, the odds are still exactly the same. So in the world of the stock market, let's say if we had some kind of a technical indicator that said the wheel would land on 10, that would be great information. It wouldn't matter if everybody else in the casino knew it, because it wouldn't change the payoffs. Everybody would get 35 times their money. But as you're going to find out, that is not true for horses. So let's say that we're at a horse race, and I don't know that much about horse racing, but I think they usually have at least 8. But for this example, I'm just going to assume that we have 5 horses. We're also going to make it simple that there's only one winner. We're going to make it even simpler to say that the track isn't taking out their cut, or the vig as they call it, just to make the math easier. It's the concept that I'm trying to get across here. So here are the 5 horses, and people, of course, can go put money on them. I think $2 is usually kind of the minimum bet, but that doesn't really matter. Mathematically, we can make it $1, $10, anything. But let's say that we have a total of $20, and we could make this 20,000, 20 million, any number you want. Just doing this to keep the numbers small. So we have $20 bet on horse 1, $10 on horse 2, 50 bucks on horse 3, $15 on number 4, and $5 on number 5. So right off the bat, we can say that the crowd seems to like horse number 3. Most of the money is flowing into 3. We think that 5 must be the long shot. Only $5 have been bet on here. Now remember, this could be one person betting 5, or it could be 5 people betting $1. So how that total got there is irrelevant. It's just that this total is sitting on horse number 5. So what the track is going to do, again, assuming that they're not taking out a cut, just doing that to make the math easy. They're going to look at the total dollars bet. So in this example, it's $100. Now, if horse number 1 wins, remember, we're just going to assume there's one winner. We're not going to get into all the trifectas and perfectas and everything else. It just complicates it. It's the same idea. But if we have one winner, they're going to say, okay, all $100 jumps over to here. So the payoff is $100 divided by 20, or 5 times your money. Now, the odds would probably show $20 divided by 100 is 20%, or a 1 in 5 probability, or 4 to 1 odds against. So the tote board might show that you're going to earn $4 for every dollar you bet, but because you get your dollar returned, the total payoff is 5 times your money. If horse number 2 wins, they're going to take the $100 into here, and the payoff is 10 times your money. So again, if we have 10 people in here that bet $1, each person gets $10. If one person bet $10, that person gets all 100. For every dollar you bet, you're going to get $10 back if number 2 wins. If horse number 3 wins, the payoff is 2 times your money. We're going to take the total 100 divided by the $50 that were placed, and we get 2 times your money. Again, if we have 50 people betting $1, each person gets $2 back. If we have one person betting 50, that person gets the whole 100. And so it just keeps working down the line. The payoff here is about 6.66 or 6.7 to 1. Horse number 5 is 20 to 1. But the thing to see is that these numbers over here, these payoffs, like we were looking at in Vegas, are determined by the crowd. That's actually what parimutuel means. It's a wager among us. The odds are determined by the crowd. So the crowd can change the odds. So you cannot do that at roulette. So let's go back to our technical indicator. Let's say we had some kind of, or an expert who had a perfect track record, or at least highly, highly reliable, and said that horse number 1 is going to win. And if that's true, and everybody bets on horse number 1, well, now there's no reason to do it. We've got $100 in it, and the payoff here is 1 to 1. So you put your dollar in, you get $1 back. It's just a return of your money. There would be no reason in the world to do this, even though you have perfect information. And the reason is that the crowd influences the payoffs. Now, another little side note in the world of horse racing, if it starts pushing too much towards one horse, they're saying, yeah, this might be the favored horse, but they're really pushing those odds awfully high. We know there's not a 100% chance. Maybe the second best horse now becomes the more favorite horse just from a risk-reward perspective. And if you're thinking that way, now you're thinking like an options trader. It's not about the one that has the highest probability. It's where has the crowd mispriced it. And once you start to see trading that way, you'll start to realize all of the fallacies that you hear. Go on YouTube and find any single trader out there that's running an options channel or a stock channel, and you'll hear stuff like this, that NVIDIA was just bouncing off the upper Bollinger Band, and therefore we know it's going to fall, and therefore you should go buy puts. Wrong. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows what Bollinger Bands do and what they mean, and so the crowd starts changing the bets. They start changing the prices of those puts to reflect this expected movement. And so if you're one of these newer traders that says, oh, I think the stock is going down, let me go buy puts, you're thinking that the stock market or the options market is like the roulette wheel, that the crowd isn't influencing these outcomes. But to succeed with options trading, you must always remember that the crowd influences the prices. I've talked about that before. Price is the equalizer. And that's what's happening with the market. So no matter how loud somebody pounds the table about that we've broken a Fibonacci extension or whatever, and therefore this has to happen, well, if that's true, then it can't be true because everybody knows about it. It would not be a logical conclusion to say this is the trade. Another thing to realize, that's why they give this stuff out for free. Everybody loves to go out and talk about their favorite technical indicator and say, that's all I need to place a trade. Well, that's not true. That's not accounting for the fact that the crowd influences the payoffs. And so the main point I want everybody to get from this video, get away from the idea of what do you think the stock is doing? Is it going up or down? If you're playing roulette, that's fine because the crowd can't influence the outcome. But if you're playing horses, it does matter. And if you're playing the options market, it matters because the crowd changes the views based on information that everybody else knows. And so again, when you see these guys on YouTube that are touting, let's say, Bollinger Bands and saying this has to happen, well, everybody knows that. That's why these people are teaching it, because it's a commonly known technical indicator. And if everybody knows it, it basically becomes worthless because the crowd factors in the prices. It is far more like horse racing than roulette. So remember, to succeed with options, it's not about up or down. It is about, has the crowd mispriced the option? And that's an entirely different way of approaching trading. It's much more difficult, but it is the only way to succeed in the long run. And so for anyone who'd like to learn more about the art and science of options trading, please check out the Alpha Trader course, Strategy Lab, and a Candlesticks and Technical Analysis course. It's all at optionsatoz.com. Also, please join us on Options A to Z's Facebook trading group, and you can find a link in the description below.